Welcome, everybody, to episode 17 of the Thunder Craps podcast, where we forge through the shitstorm that was WCW Thunder. I am your host, who can never be confused for the poster boy for Logic, Josh Kaiser. And joining me today, my co-host, a fat, out-of-shape Ohio idiot, Kyle Hoagland.
Dude, all right, so as soon as we were starting this, I'm like, okay, there's two things he's going to throw at me. He's either going to throw out the giant poster, or he's gonna pull the Rick Rude. And Rick Rude, if he's on the mic, you know there's gonna be something he's gonna say that is gonna be quotable. Oh, I actually appreciate you with Rick Rude, because I believe Rick Rude is not long for this world. This is late '98 at this point.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're in May. It's May of '98. But every time Rick Rude, you know, when I sit here and we watch these shows, of course, I always listen for particular quotes or comments, and I'm like, okay, that's a good way to like open the show, right? And I always kind of star them accordingly on my notes. And some weeks I struggle a little bit trying to. I'm like, man, this hasn't been a good week for quotes. And then Rick Rude comes out. I'm like, oh, thank God, Rick. I can always count on the Ravishing One to at least give one or two good quotables. And usually when he calls somebody fat and out of shape, I know at least I got you marked down for the episode. So thanks, Rick. But
I got to play more tennis apparently.
It is May 21st. It is 1998. And him calling you a fat, out-of-shape Ohio idiot was perfect because you are from Ohio, you are from Cleveland, and that, Kyle, is where we are hosting this Thunder. I think last week you thought it was going to be at the Gund Arena.
I was giving Thunder way too much credit.
Yes, you were. Of course, we're at the Cleveland State CSU,
the CSU Convocation. Yep.
Convocation Center, yep. But here we are. The show opens up, though. It starts with the replay from last Thunder, where Giant, of course, telling Sting, now that he's a member of the NWO, that Sting, when they win the titles at Slamboree that Sunday, he's going to have a decision to make.
Is this the first time that they've actually used Thunder, a recap from Thunder, to drive a story? Like, that was what I thought. I'm like, wow, we're actually opening up with Last Thunder. That's usually never heard of.
No, usually it's a Nitro thing.
Especially considering that this was the go-home show for Slamboree, so we had Slamboree that they could recap. They had the Nitro following it. They could have, but no, they went with Thunder first.
They did, but to be fair, they do immediately follow it up with what happened on Nitro, which of course shows. They have, Sting and Giant, we figure out, are tag team champions. If you watch Slamboree, you'll find out why. If not, we'll discuss it as the show goes on. But Sting basically spits in the Giant's face, so kind of gives his answer there. The Giant attacks him with a lead pipe, I think.
No, I think he just attacks him in general.
Okay,
like just to choke him out. Nash comes out with the lead pipe.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay, yep. And then Nash kind of helps save him, and that's your kind of your cold opening. Boom, here we are. We're live from Cleveland State, and Tony Schiavone is standing in the middle of the ring for an interview here, which I thought was a little different. I don't know if they've ever opened up Thunder.
I don't think so, but I also think they've never opened up Thunder with. I think we may have noticed one other time with the pyro going a little bit eccentric at the start, but holy fuck, the pyro for Cleveland. I mean, the CSU Convocation Center spared no expense. They must have had a lot of fireworks just stored in the back somewhere, because they went nuts on the fireworks at the start of the show.
They did go crazy with that. And you're right. I think there was one other time they did it. Usually they save that for the main event, but it was a main event being in Cleveland, right?
Yeah. I mean, you got to go big in the city of Cleveland.
That you do. So the Giant's going to come out. He has music now, Kyle, because he's got the NWO music. So
good for him. They didn't have to produce music for him. He was just going to go to the NWO a couple weeks later.
Right. We're going to get our first sign of the night, which actually the Giant himself kind of calls out. And it's a sign that says the Giant is a fat, goofy, backstabbing caveman, which the Giant looked at and shook his head. He was not approving of the Cleveland signs there.
This was probably the silver medal of what you were going to introduce me as today as well.
Right. And then when he gets into the ring, we're going to see our second sign of the night right behind Tony and the Giant. It's going to say, I slept with Schiavone's wife. So I actually had to tweet that out to Tony Schiavone to see what he thought about what Lois Schiavone sleeping some random Clevelander. But Before we get started with the promo, the Giant's actually going to take both belts, which he's rocking around his waist, and send them on Tony's shoulders, which I thought was kind of funny.
Doesn't also, when the Giant wears two belts, doesn't look like a regular man wearing one belt?
It really does.
It really does. Like, it really fits. Both of them fit his waist.
Yes.
Perfectly fine.
They really did. It worked well for him. But, of course, he's going to be discussing him and Sting, and basically he says that Sting and he had just a little minor disagreement. And he said, I apologized, we're fine, and Sting is NWO. So, we'll see.
Usually a disagreement involves choking a man, so yeah, I get it.
Right. Out comes Lex rocking some gym shorts. I don't know what it is, but every time Lex comes out in gear that isn't his normal wrestling gear, it's always just like, he looks goofy wearing anything other than a black Speedo. I don't know what it is.
The other thing, too, is that, like, we always joke about, like, sometimes, like, Bret Hart or Jericho and Benoit will, like, wear, like, the same jersey, like, 4 weeks in a row on Thunder. But Lex, I don't think – Lex is a fashionista. Lex, I don't think, has ever worn the same thing twice. Although maybe he wore that white blouse back in 96
he might have wore that
a couple times.
A couple of times, yeah.
But I think since we've been watching, I mean, that guy has been a lumberjack. The dude's been a football player. This guy's rocking gym shorts. This guy's walking around without his boots tied. Like, this guy is just a mess.
He really is. I don't know what it is. I crack up every time I see him. So he comes out here, and immediately Shivani's going to call for security. So you're going to see Doug Dillinger and some other schmuck who I don't know if I've ever seen before stand out there. And I'm like, what are these two guys going to do with the Giant and Lex? But then they call it for more security, apparently, because all of the cruiserweights come in and stand around the ring. And I thought we were going to have an impromptu Lex versus Giant opening match
lumberjack
cruiserweights.
with cruiserweights.
Yeah.
If only we had, like, a team of Riot Squad police that was somewhere in the back that could help out, you know?
Yeah, right? Yeah, no kidding. Lex is going to get on the mic, though, and say that basically everything that Giant is saying is spewing out of his mouth is lies and garbage. And also says that those belts are flim flam belts, which I don't know.
Don't know, Lex. I would have agreed with that if these were the fake belts, but those are actually the legitimate WCW tag belts.
Yeah, I don't know. And then the Giant's going to actually offer Lex to be on his team and join the NWO.
Way to 180 that shit. He's like, I'm going to fight you tonight. All right, well, then before we do that, let me ask you, do you want to be my partner? Do you want to join the NWO? It's like, dude, fill the room out a little bit, dude.
Right? Naturally, though, apparently we're in a spitting storyline because now Lex is going to spit in the Giant's face. He's going to run away. All the cruiserweights are going to pour into the ring, all to take choke slams and power bombs and body slams. Poor guys.
Poor El Dandy mostly, though.
Yeah, El Dandy taking the big power bomb there. Lex just didn't give a shit, though. He pissed him off and let the cruiserweights take the heat for it. And that's your opening. Then we're going to move into the commentary team. We get the peace sign from Heenan, but I guess Lee Marshall learned his lesson. Lee Marshall learned his lesson and didn't give the peace sign, but we got the okay sign from Heenan. So you're right, Kyle. Heenan must have done it more, and I just never noticed it previously. And all they're going to say here basically is talking about the Giant and Sting, and Heenan saying you shouldn't spit in the Giant's face. So, I mean, I guess those are wise words.
And I guess if you're a liar, you're still not supposed to call somebody that. I guess apparently that's a mean thing to do, and you don't want to hurt the Giants' feelings.
Right. Then we're going to move to our opening bout. Of course, this might be part of that martial arts wrestling division as Yuji Nagata.
Oh yeah, that was a thing. Yeah, sure.
Cat. Yeah, right. This match.
I think the last time that was a thing, I think it was Yuji Nagata versus the Cat.
It very well. I think it was. This is match 2. I mean, if you were going to have a martial arts wrestling division, this would be the kind of match you'd see because there was a lot of like different kicks in this. It felt very, like a karate wrestling match. You're going to get a near 10 count punch. It's going to go to 8 in the corner with the Cat, and then Yuji Nagata, who's actually the one getting punched, is going to be the one to break it. And you don't see that very often.
No, not at the 8 count. Anyways, I think after you got 8, I think 2 more is fine. But yeah, I think he rings him up on the top rope.
Right. The Cat though is going to kind of sell a leg or knee or some sort of injury in this fight, and I actually thought he did a good job of selling it to the point like Yuji Nagata is going to Irish whip him into the corner, and instead of like taking it like normal, he just kind of falls over. So.
He kind of buckles.
Yeah, exactly. He buckled. That's a good way of putting it. And Nagata's going to kind of celebrate for a second, but the cat's going to get up, jump to the top, do like his little spinning reverse heel kick to the face. He's going to get the 3-count win here. I gave it 2 stars. I thought it was a nice opening match and, with the, solid martial arts skill between the two of them.
I gave it 2 stars. I still laugh now that I think every time someone does a standing sidekick, someone always has to mention Glacier because they mentioned it here too. They're like, a kick. It's kind of like the cryonic kick, standing sidekick, and they talked about Saturn. I'm like, my God, like, are they going to do this every time we see see like a standing sidekick? There was one kind of cool. There was one kind of cool move that the cat did do. He did like a fireman's carry slam that I felt like he didn't even know what he was doing.
Yeah, that was
with
cool.
Nijigan. And it was cool, but at the same time, I think when he had him up in the fireman's carry, I don't think he knew what he was going to do with Yuji Nagata. Like he was like, I'll just do this, and just kind of slammed him in the front. Kind of looked like an attitude adjustment. Like I think
a little bit, yeah.
So I kind of liked it, but it also looked a little awkward. I did like that he was selling the knee injury. Although once again, your finish is a move where you need to have crazy leg strength, where he leaps from the top rope. So his knee couldn't have been that bad. I gave it 2 stars. Pacing in the match was a little bit slow, although once again it was mostly just kicks and selling a knee injury. So yeah, the pace is going to be a little bit slow because of that. I guess it makes a little bit of sense. Sonny Ono definitely had a lot of extra work going on in this. He basically kicked the cat about as much as Yuji Nagata did. I still laugh at the whole, selling a knee injury and then miraculously snapping out of it in order to pull off one of the hardest finishers to do on a bad knee probably in the company. But, once again, it's fake, right?
That's right. And
scripted.
The greatest.
It's scripted.
After this, we're going to get our first real replay of the night other than the opening. And it's just Randy Savage telling Piper that what happened last night at Slamboree, this, of course, is a Nitro replay, doesn't sit too well with him. And I guess we can discuss it right now. Savage and Bret Hart have a pretty long match with each other, but towards the end, Bret Hart's going to get like the old dick knuckles, and he's going to punch Piper in the back of the head with it. And then while Piper's sort of knocked out as the special guest referee, Savage is going to get a hold of the knuckles. Well, then Piper's going to see that Savage has the knuckles, and he's going to DQ Savage, but Savage is also put into the sharpshooter at that point because of an interference from Hogan. So he's also tapping from the sharpshooter, but it's kind of a clusterfuck of an ending, as though that's any surprise. But that's what he's talking about, is basically Piper DQing him for this, false knuckle move.
See, when I watched the match, it looked like he didn't DQ Savage. It looked like he let Savage tap out, and that's when he called for the bell. It was happening
simultaneously, but they were talking about it being a DQ, so it's weird, yeah. After this, we get maybe the laziest WCW Saturday Night promo we've had yet.
I pretended it wasn't even the thing. I pretended it didn't even exist.
They basically showed their little graphic, and Shivani mentions the Giant and Conan will be there. That is it. Nothing else. It was garbage, and they're back to 1 hour. So apparently that 2-hour special either was just a special or did not last long. After this, we're going to get our second replay, and it was apparently at Slamboree. It was not part of the actual pay-per-view. It must have been one of those like special after the event kind of things. And it shows Malenko, who does win the Cruiserweight title. Of course, this is a great one. If you haven't watched Slamboree, you should at least watch it for this. There's a 15-man Cruiserweight Battle Royal, and the winner will face Jericho right afterwards. Jericho reads off a little introduction for each Cruiserweight on their way out there. It's hysterical. Sequel Play is going to win this Battle Royal. Of course, he pulls off the mask and finds out it's Dean Malenko, so Dean Malenko is no longer quitting. He will beat Jericho for the title, and this replay here is basically Malenko talking about how he sat on the couch for the last month and watched Jericho rip on all these cruiserweights, take advantage of him, also ripping on the Boris Malenko, his father, and that shit's stopping now. And then it cuts to Jericho, who's throwing one classic tantrum about the big conspiracy and how there's no reason that Malenko should be the champ. We say all that, and we go into our next match. Jericho's going to come out holding a conspiracy victim sign. He's actually going to get on the microphone, apologize for the tantrum, and say it won't happen again. But classic. He does, yeah, classic. And then I always love when he does that, and he's like, thank you. And then he goes on. He says this conspiracy is larger than the JFK assassination, Roswell, or the 1918 Black Sox or White Sox. I forget which team he mentioned.
Well, it was the White Sox, but it was called the Black Sox because of the scandal.
Because of the scandal, that's right. He's going to call out J.J. Dillon, who will not come out, but basically says, I got a list here of 15 members in the Battle Royal, and Malenko wasn't one of them, so Malenko shouldn't be the champion. You need to reinstate me as the champion. And then his opponent for the match, Super Kalo, is going to come out. This match I thought was really sloppy. At one point, I had to laugh. The ref was in the way of Jericho doing the lion salt, and he actually had to direct him out of the way to do it. And then Super Kalo's going to do a moonsault of his own, or almost like a lion salt in some ways of his own. And God, it looked like he landed on his neck bad or something. And then immediately he's going to get put into the lion tamer, which I felt like if you just landed that wrong, like you probably shouldn't go straight into the lion tamer. But whatever, Jericho's going to win this one. I give this a 1.5 stars. I think this is the worst Jericho match I have ever seen, and easily the worst that we've seen since starting Thunder.
I gave it a 1.75 stars. I don't think the match was horrible. It was very quick, and obviously Jericho was lashing out at the very beginning of the match with more of like punches and just being aggressive, not his normal stuff. This is the second time I believe he's fought Super Kalo on Thunder, and I think we also talked about then Super Kalo had, I think, 2 spots in the match where he fucked up, and Jericho said, "Fuck this, I'm putting you in the lion tamer, we're ending this." This was very, very similar. And I probably rated almost the same. I think I probably rated that one less because I think literally Super Kalo had 2 big spots to look good, and both of them looked like utter garbage. Now, this one, he had 1 spot. He went for a moonsault, a springboard moonsault, and it looked like if I tried doing it. It was horrible. It was really, really bad done, poorly done. I do find it funny, too, that at the end of the match, Tony Schiavone even admits that the conspiracy is true, that, like, yeah, maybe Jericho has a point, but he doesn't care because, fuck the heels.
You always gotta love the double standard of WCW when it comes to heels.
Right. If a face beats like a heel, like his brains out with a chair, Tony Schiavone is still going to cheer for it because he thinks that person had it coming.
Right. After this, we'll get our third replay of the night. This is, of course, Mortis wanting to join the flock from Thunder about 3 months ago.
And I think it's the 4th time we've seen this replay as well.
Right. At least this time it has a reason to be shown. When they showed it a couple weeks ago, or a month ago, whatever it was now, there was no reason to show it because they didn't do anything else with it.
I think it was a Kidman match right after that. I was like, why is Kidman following this shit?
Right. So, of course, it starts with that, about Mortis wanting to join the flock. But he's going to lose his match to DDP, and Raven's going to even flow him for it. Then they're going to show this fan who attacks Raven and the flock during certain matches from Nitro and such.
Why did they add the actual legitimate fan attacking Raven? Like, that wasn't...
Dude, wasn't
Mortis
weird?
At all. That was so random that they decided to add... I understand that what they're trying to do is that, like, this is the reason why maybe he's getting this... the security that he's getting.
I guess,
but I think if they're pushing the storyline of it being, Chris Canyon, Mortis, whatever you want to call him right now, like, why would they just grab the random guy who dragged him out?
I don't know. I thought that was so weird as well. That was strange. I'm glad you said something. I didn't put in my notes right here. I don't know if it happened here or it was later or something. But yeah, I think you're right. I must have been right here, and I just didn't put it in there. But it was so weird. I'm glad you said something. Then, of course, they show the interference when this fan, Chris Canyon, is going to interfere in the Saturn versus Hammer match, which I have to laugh. I've seen this replay now like a dozen times. And Saturn takes the tray of water, drinks, whatever it is, to the head, and he falls down, gets up, and then lays himself down nicely, away. It's like the most choreographed fall and move to a spot that he needs to be ever. It just looks so bad. And then, of course, Hammer's going to take the chair shot and fall on top of him. So they show that. And then at Slamboree, one of the Riot Squad members turns out to be Mortis under mask. And then Mortis is going to remove his mask and find out that Mortis is this vendor/fan that we've been seeing as the attacker. Of course, Kyle, you and I know him as Chris Canyon. They just haven't named him yet. They're still calling him Mortis, I guess. Following that replay, Raven's going to come out with his Riot Squad, and he's going to first cut a promo on Saturn and basically says that Saturn apparently thinks he doesn't need the flock, and he said, I thought you were loyal. Saturn's going to come out and says, you were drunk with power, I was your friend, I'm not, your your lackey in the flock, and you can't boss me around. Raven's going to say, you're right, I'm sorry. And Saturn's just going to leave. like,
what a weird wrestling promo.
Wasn't it? That's all I'm saying. Strange?
It felt real. It felt like, oh, dude, my bad. Yeah, that's, but that's not the world that I've learned to be in professional wrestling. Of a guy be like, oh yeah, sorry, dude, and then he leaves.
He just leaves. I thought it was so strange. It was just this Thunder in general has been very strange so far. Raven is going to say that Mortis has been spotted in a blonde or rainbow wig or something like that in the crowd, and we've got you, so why don't you come out here? So this...
so a guy who comes out not wearing a rainbow wig...
Right. The guy coming out not with the rainbow wig is going to show up. He's going to tell him to get closer. Then the Riot Squad's going to attack him. Meanwhile, another person's going to enter the ring. This one is the actual real Mortis. He's going to drop the downward spiral. I don't know what he calls it. Flatliner?
It's the flatliner.
Yeah, that's right. It just came to me as I said that. Which Shivani does point out, they're not sure who was who, but he did say that the flatliner is a move that Mortis used to use, so that's why he seems to think it would be him. And then he's immediately going to sprint out of there before the flock can get him. After this, we're going to get our fourth replay of the night. This is Piper telling Savage that he was wrong about who hit him during their match at Slamboree, and as commissioner, he's making a decision. And then it just cuts off, so we don't know what that decision is, but that's it for the replay. The
decision was brought to you by Burger King. If you ask us, it just tastes better.
Yeah, that happens a couple times in this show, doesn't it?
I think it's 3 times, and I thought it was live, but it's literally the same video package of a bunch of shirtless guys flexing into the camera.
I didn't notice that. That's funny.
Yeah, that was the only thing I looked at. I'm like, wait, that looks kind of familiar. And then they did it a third time. I'm like, all right, you're not fooling me again. It's the same damn video package.
That's funny. After this, the TV title is going to be on the line. Fit Finley's going to be defending against Jim the Anvil Neidhart. Tony's going to let us know that Thunder's on Wednesday next week, apparently. I had to laugh during this match, which is kind of a brawl match, like a brawling type match, which you'd expect with Neidhart and Finley. But at one point, Nick Patrick, I think it was Finley going to kick Neidhart in the nuts or vice versa. I don't remember which one was it. And Nick Patrick was giving me like, no, don't you think about kicking him right in the balls. I know what you're doing right there. And Neidhart is going to take a gut shot at one point, and Heenan's going to call him a big dummy for walking right into it, which it's just funny. Classic Heenan stuff. Finley is going to win this match with the Tombstone Piledriver. I give it a star and 3/4. It wasn't any groundbreaking type match, but it was fine, and it's good to see that Fit Finley, won the title, defended it at Slamboree, and is still here defending it now, because there was a chance, I couldn't remember whether or not he was going to drop it immediately at Slamboree, and I'm glad to see that he didn't.
I gave this 2 1/4. Maybe not so much for the actual production of the match itself, but this really, I kind of felt the same way. I know he holds on the title for a little bit, but I'm glad he's defending the title. And this match really, I think, legitimized Finley, because I know the last couple of matches, I know when he beat Booker, Benoit came to the ring, kind of made a distraction, gave Finley the win. At Slamboree, it was the exact other way around because, creative writing. And so they just had Booker come out and cause Benoit to lose. But in this one, Finley really looked like, even though some of the shots he took, it really looked like he really wasn't phased too much. He didn't look like he was in very much trouble throughout the match at all. Hits a pretty decent tombstone, but I feel like Finley's legit, all right? When I was growing up and I saw that Finley won the TV title, I thought the same thing. I thought he was just going to be a transitional champion for somebody else, but he's actually looking really great against everyone he faces.
Really? 12-year-old you was like, this is a transitional champion right here. Is that what you thought as a 12-year-old?
First of all, I was 13 at this time, so maybe 12-year-old me would have thought that. Not 13-year-old me, though.
No.
I'm a little wiser then.
But yeah, good for Fit. After this, Lee Marshall says, let's go to the ring. And we cut to Tony Schiavone standing at the entrance ramp as he's going to call out the number 1 contender for the TV title, Booker T. And out comes Chris Benoit. He's rocking his khakis and polo.
Dude, I love that he came out. He actually came out before they even announced it. Like he knew it was him. He was like halfway down the ramp, and they're like Booker T, and then you just see him like, oh, well, shit.
Right. He says he wants to talk to the horse's head about this whole number 1 contender thing, but instead Booker T's going to come out. Booker T says he respects Benoit, but the committee made their decision. Benoit says, you're the number 1 contender. You'll get what you deserve. and takes the cheap shot that we all saw coming from a mile away. And that leaves Booker like dead to the ground, like not getting up. Benoit's going to leave, and out comes Stevie Ray, who I don't think we've seen in a while.
I don't think anyone has. I think they made a point that he hasn't been around at all.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen him on Thunder in any of our time watching it, have we?
No, and I said I think even the commentator booth says that we haven't seen Stevie Ray on TV in a long time.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, he gets Booker T. He tells him to get up, and back in the day when someone did that, you need to. We used to stomp a mud hole in their butt. So that's what they get up and they walk away together. At which point we're gonna get our fifth replay of the night. This is Hogan on Nitro saying, "Where I go, the money, the talent, and greatness goes." And then he's going to introduce the newest member of the NWO Hollywood or Black and White, Scott Hall. So if you haven't watched Slamboree, of course the Outsiders were defending their tag titles against the Giant and Sting. The big swerve late in the match is Scott Hall is going to take the title and hit Nash in the back of the head with it. That's how the Giant and Sting are going to win it. So Scott Hall has turned his back on Kevin Nash in the Wolfpack, and he is part of NWO Black and White. So.
Which is fine because he has black and white trunks and he's got red and black trunks. So whatever he decides to do, he can always just change his outfit. He'll be fine.
He'll be okay. After this, we're going to get Bryan Adams, accompanied to the ring, of course, by his valet Vincent.
The DQ machine himself.
That's right. And he's going to be wrestling Hacksaw Jim Duggan, who is still over like Rover. Not much to say about this match. Pretty early on, Charles Robinson is going to start yanking Bryan Adams by the hair.
That is right. And as far as I'm concerned right now, that is going to be the art of this episode.
That was phenomenal. I don't know if I've ever seen something like that before. Of course, Bryan Adams is going to get pissed that a dude's pulling on his hair, and he's going to pick up and throw Charles Robinson like halfway across the ring. And somebody's ringing the bell for a disqualification. It wasn't Charles Robinson, but the bell keeps ringing. In the post-match, Duggan's going to get his 3-point stance on Bryan Adams to get a little bit more, get a little heat back on the babyface there. I get this star and a half. The match was terrible. The DQ was just random because Charles Robinson wasn't there to call for it. The only saving grace was Charles Robinson pulling on Bryan Adams' hair.
I didn't even rate this. I just gave this a dud. I don't
That's
think
fair
this.
Too.
I couldn't really do anything about it just because of how it ended. I was actually the only thing I put on here that I was actually surprised with Vincent being there. If this was going to be a DQ finish, I was very shocked that Vincent had nothing to do with it.
That's true. Yeah. Sometimes Vincent just likes to, sit back and let his guys wrestle,
I always feel like Vincent gets paid less. And so I feel like he was like mad at Bryan Adams for causing the DQ himself because he didn't get to get himself involved.
After this, we're going to get our sixth replay of the night, and it says Bret Hart saying that he won his match in the ring, and that's it for that. Then we're going to get Hammer vs. Saturn. I feel like these guys are wrestling on a weekly basis now. I don't know if it's just me or not. Saturn is going to hit the old side kick or the cryonic kick, which Mike Tenay gets fired up about and basically says, that, Glacier, is how you do that kick right there. So... Tenay, man, he showed a little tenacity, if you will.
He's taking sides, is what he's doing.
That is true. There was a couple great spots of an inverted suplex and a nice sidewalk slam in this match. Reese is going to distract the ref, I think, which allows Raven to come in and drop the even flow on Hammer. Saturn's going to question it and say he doesn't need Raven's help. He's going to hit the Death Valley Driver, get his 3 count. I gave this 2 stars. The match itself was just okay, but with the storytelling taking place here, of course, Raven and Saturn, you thought maybe that conversation was going to end their situation, but obviously it doesn't. And there's still more here where, Raven's trying to say that, Saturn still needs, or Raven is trying to tell Saturn that, Saturn still needs Raven. Where Saturn's, still trying to break away from the flock, I think, and do his own thing and doesn't need him. So I like what they're doing here. But like I said, 2 stars for the match overall.
I gave it 2.5 stars. A decent match with some okay offense, but overall the storytelling was above average regarding Saturn and Raven. I said you kind of already nailed it, so not too much to talk about. Yeah, but it's clear though that Saturn doesn't want the Flock or Raven to be taking any credit for any of his success moving forward. But I think the whole thing with Raven, he's just trying to convince Saturn that being with the Flock is going to be more advantageous to Saturn. But really, in the end, it's because Raven needs as many lackeys as he can.
After this, we're going to get our third and fourth signs of the night. The third being Hogan farts dust, and the fourth being I am one of Sean Kemp's 7 kids, which I thought was funny, given that.
Well, I mean, once again, this is Cleveland, and I think he was on the Cavs during this time.
I think so. That's why I said that. Rick Rude's going to be coming out to do a promo here. First, he comes out and asks for his music to be cut, and then he calls out the next United States champion, Curt Hennig. Curt Hennig's going to come out. Rick Rude's going to ask for the music to be cut again. But, of course, the big question here, Curt Hennig, Kyle, if you didn't know, I think they may have mentioned it. He does join the Red and Black. This is announced on one of those Nitros during that 3-week hiatus we had on Thunder. So the Wolfpack right now is Savage, Nash, Hennig, Conan, Dusty Rhodes.
No, Dusty Rhodes is not. Dusty Rhodes is with Hall.
Well, he might be. Oh, you're right. He joined Hall when Hall turned on him. You're
yes.
right about that. I forgot about that. Yep, it's Slamboree.
And by the way, do you ever remember that Curt Hennig was in the Wolfpack?
I do and I don't. Like, once it happened, when they introduced him, I'm like, oh yeah, I vaguely remember that being a thing.
I just feel like when Sting joins, he's not there anymore.
Right, and he might not be. It may be a short-lived. He may turn on one of them.
By the way, spoilers, sorry.
I know, sorry. Anybody who doesn't know where Sting's going here, you're answering the questions that they don't know.
If you're listening to this, I would like to think you already knew this.
So, like I said, Rude's going to call out Curt Hennig, calls him the next United States champion. He says that, I might be black and white, he might be red and black, but we're still buddies, and our opponents are going to be black and blue, which I thought was a nice little comment there. He said, they call out Goldberg and said they want Goldberg tonight for the United States title, and Rude says he can smell his boots. I'm
not sure what that means. I have no idea what that means.
I guess he's got stinky feet, dude, and he can smell them a mile away.
And apparently a small penis.
Hennig is going to say, nope, he has no guts. Let's do it at Great American Bash instead. And then he stutters over something about Goldberg being the Titanic of the WCW and that Hennig is an iceberg or something to that effect.
Not the best promo, but I saw what he was trying to do.
And then good old Wee Willie Goldberg won't win that match. And the commentary team's going to let us know that Goldberg, for whatever reason, wasn't in Cleveland tonight. So that's why these NWO
the only
guys.
Thunder he's never been on.
I know. It's fucking Cleveland, man.
The one thing that we can rely on is Jericho or Goldberg or DDP will always be at a show.
And two out of those three weren't here.
2 out of 3 weren't even there. At least Jericho was.
That's true. And I just have to note here, sometimes when I listen to Lee Marshall, talk for a minute, he's got a very soothing voice. It's terrible for wrestling commentary, but it's great if, I wanted to listen to, a narration of, Dr. Seuss before going to sleep.
Yeah, he doesn't exactly invoke, excitement and bedlam and just, really getting yourself, revved up for anything. That's Tony Schiavone. And to a lesser extent, I guess Mike Tenay can kind of get there when you're talking about cryonic. When he wants to talk about Acai moonsaults, right. that's when we want Mike Tenay to.
Lee Marshall never gets to that level. Lee Marshall's like an NPR host that would be great for podcasting if he were still alive today.
Somebody could have been decapitated in the middle of the ring and he would still sound the same.
That is true. Speaking of decapitation, we got Horace Boulder, I guess. That's not much of a segue. But
I'd never remembered him having a last name other either Horace or Horace Hogan.
Horace Hogan, yeah. He's going to be wrestling Juventud Guerrera. We're going to welcome Lodi back, Kyle, at this point, because we're going to get a few signs from Lodi. He is back and healthy again, so he's got some signs. The first sign he's going to hold up is going to say Horace, real man of the family, which got me to really laugh out loud because obviously, Hogan and him are related, so that was a wink and a nod kind of joke there. He also had the sign that said Raven made Seinfeld quit. Of course, you pointed out that Fan had the Goldberg made Seinfeld quit last week during Seinfeld's finale. So now Lodi's stealing that idea for his own right here. And then he's got another sign that says Lodi's back, Thunder quality up, which I appreciated. As for this match, while the refs gets distracted, Reese is going to come in and do the double hand choke slam again to Hoovy. Horace is going to struggle picking Hoovy up, and then finally he picks him up and just clotheslines him or lariat to him. It looked terrible. It's a star and 3/4. I guess we're getting towards a Juventud versus Reese match.
And I don't know who wants that, but we're going to have it, I think. I gave it a star and 3/4 as well. I actually kind of thought the match started out pretty entertaining. The ending was absolute shit. My whole problem with it is, how can you distract the ref? The referee isn't even being really, honest to God, distracting. He's just counting out Horace because he's on the outside. So he's just counting him. And then a 400-pound, 7'2" man, like a shadow in the night, apparently, gets in the ring and double choke slams somebody.
Don't you remember? In between
he was a mummy. He was a mummy.
in between the Yeti and Reese. He was a ninja.
That's right. He was a big old fat ninja. But it's just one of those crazy things where, you would think that Silverman would feel the earth shattering behind him of a 400-plus pound man slamming someone to the ground, and then he just disappears into the night, and he comes back and goes, "Oh, what happened to Hoovy?" So I don't know. I hate those kind of endings where it's just it's so lazy and it just doesn't make any sense. If you're a ref, you'd be like, "Oh, what the fuck was that?" You turn around and go, "Oh, Reese, yeah, you can't do that."
Yeah, Reese's character was renamed the Super Giant Ninja. So, the dude is quiet, man.
That's literally his name.
At one point it was, yes.
The Super Giant Ninja.
Yep.
That's that's worse than just being called the Giant. My God.
Let's see. Ron Reese. Here's all of his ring names. And of course, do
you just have Ron Reese's Wikipedia just up at all times?
Yes. What you never know. You never know when you need a little Ron Reese trivia drop.
Who would have thought that today would be the day where you could finally use that tab on your Chrome?
Hey, you know what? Once I knew at some point it was gonna come out, and here it is.
One day I'm gonna have Dave. I always have David Flair up just in case too. So one day I get to use that one.
His ring names, though, of course, some of these would probably be before he was in WCW, but I'm not sure. He wrestled under the name. Oh, he was trained by Big John Studd, though. Just a little FYI. So,
all right, okay.
Ring names, though: Big Bomb Jones.
Okay.
Big Ron Studd.
My God.
Evil.
Just evil.
Spelled
the same.
Yes. Reese.
Oh, God, okay. Reese. Yep.
Ron Reese. The Super Giant Ninja. SWAT. Vanilla Gorilla.
That sounds like a fucking name during our trampoline wrestling federation. Something would be my name. The Vanilla Gorilla.
And then finally, the Yeti. I'm not sure if there has been a person who is strapped with worse gimmicks and names in the history of wrestling.
Al Snow. Al Snow's up there.
Yeah, but at least he was successful. He has so many,
but what's awesome, though, what makes him worse, though, is that he literally had a new thing every week. I think he had 5 gimmicks in 5 weeks.
Yeah, but they weren't as bad as these gimmicks.
I guess. But once again, it's bad when the one that we all remember the most is probably just his last name. Just Reese.
Right. And one more fun fact on Reese before we move on.
Is he dead?
No.
Okay.
No, he is still alive. Yes, he is still alive.
We lose Spicoli, but we keep Reese. God damn it. There's no God.
He formed a tag team with Glacier in Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling, and they won the tag team titles.
I can understand that only because they were at least WCW talent,
right? That
was on TV, and that's enough for you to get a title in some other federation.
Yeah, I suppose you're right there. But we've spent enough time talking about Reese. Let's get back to the show.
Clearly not enough.
We get our 7th replay of the night. It's Hogan saying we can have a lot of fun together, Brett.
Then it cuts off.
Then it cuts off, exactly. We got the commentary team who get hit with food or water or a salad. I replayed this 15 times and I couldn't figure out what it was.
it's not a football, but it looked like either someone chewed up salad and put it in a cup and threw it.
It really did.
It looked like someone threw green Jello. It was green. It wasn't a liquid, but it had like a weird consistency.
Right, but there was like water or something like all over. I mean, it could have been Jello. There was like it just splattered all over the table, which it just made me laugh.
I mean, that's classic Cleveland to bring green Jello, right? That's what we're known for.
And Lee Marshall's going to say he's not asking Piper and Savage to balance a checkbook or cure a disease here. So wise words from Marshall's. Of course, they're talking about this Great American Bash. Piper, Savage versus Brett and Hogan tag team match we got to look forward to, which means now Hogan will be 2 straight pay-per-views where he's not defending the world title. We get our 8th replay of the night, which is Piper calling out Savage, saying he didn't know it was hard to hit him. He reversed their decision from the night before.
So basically, did they just combine all? No, did they combine the whole packages now? Yeah, this is when they combined them.
This is when they combined them all. And it says Hart said you can't do that. Says they're both gutless. Hogan's saying, hey, Hart, let's team up. And Piper wants to do it tonight. It was literally like 4 or 5 of the clips that we've watched all night thrown in here. Why? Why did they do this? Why not just either show this or just show the next iteration of this cut? Like, why are we replaying all the fucking replays we've already seen? It pissed me off.
Yeah, it was very stupid, but I guess the only reason why they want to do that is because they want to make sure everybody had all the information, because obviously who's coming out next?
Out comes the Macho Man. Of course, he's rocking the red and black. He's got Miss Elizabeth. She's rocking the red and black as well.
To the erection of Tony Schiavone.
Good old Tony. I can't blame him, though. You know, Liz looking good. He says we got the insane match from hell at Great American Bash. Then says he'd go to hell and make the deal with the devil, which is what he did.
Before we move forward with this, did you not notice that at the very beginning of his promo, Macho totally forgot what pay-per-view he was promoting?
I did not catch that. I did see that.
The first thing he says is that he says Zimboree. I'm like, first of all, it's Slamboree, not Zimboree. He was talking about that there's going to be the tag match from hell. And I'm like, well, Macho, you're already off on a fucking horrible start.
This was actually one of Macho's worst promos too. I thought it was rough all around.
Well, did you not notice that towards it looked like somebody else stopped him? Like he was trying to talk, and it almost seemed like he almost had like an earpiece telling him, "Oh, hey, stop!"
Yeah.
It's just weird because he stopped in the middle in a weird spot.
Well, then he talks about that. He says him and Piper hate each other. So obviously there's going to be a little bit of friction there between that tag team now.
Wait, are you trying to tell me that WCW tries to pull a "Can X trust Y" in a tag match?
Isn't that crazy?
It's
new. Original, right? Yeah. But he does say after they win their match, you put on your dress and basically I'm going to slap the shit out of you. And then he says an icon, which of course that's Piper's nickname, the Icon. He goes, an icon? I don't even know what that is. Is that like a bird? A dodo bird? A species that doesn't exist anymore?
It's like, we get it, dude.
What was that? Like, no, that's not like that was a terrible comment. That just made Macho look just dumb. This was
Macho is the fucking madness, man. I mean the only thing that's missing out of this whole storyline is finding out whether or not they're going to come out separately at the Great American Bash.
Oh, I'm sure they'll bring that up.
Then we're going to have WCW tag team bingo right there.
Yeah, no shit. Thankfully, we're saved from that promo with a promo of Chavo Guerrero's grandmother, Eddie's mom. She's speaking Spanish. Eddie sits down to translate and says that basically his mom said that he's her favorite son and that she wants Chavo to get some wins. Heenan makes a comment that he thinks that this is Carol Channing. I had to Google who she was. Apparently, she was an old Broadway chick from Hello, Dolly. And then apparently Mike Tenay can translate Spanish on top of everything else that the dude does and says that's not at all what she said.
He is a professor.
He is the professor. You're right about that. This is going to bring out Eddie and Chavo. They're going to it was originally going to be Eddie's match. Of course, Eddie's going to get on the mic and says he talked with Grandma, and Chavo says, yeah, I know what she wants. She wants me to wrestle this match. I want this match. You're my favorite. Tries to get the crowd to chant, Eddie, Eddie. So changing up his persona here and his relationship with Eddie and how he's handling this whole deal that they've got going on. Out's going to come the Cruiserweight Champion, Dean Malenko. The title, of course, is on the line. At one point, this is a pretty good back and forth match actually between Chavo and Dean. At one point, the crowd starts doing the Eddie sucks chants. I loved it. Chavo says, "No, he doesn't," and looks at Eddie and says, "You don't suck. You don't suck." At one point, Dean is going to be pinned, and Eddie's going to kind of reach under the rope to kind of help Dean break the pin. And this match was pretty good right up to the end. Chavo's going to do the tornado DDT, but it's going to get reversed into a and basically turn into a Texas Cloverleaf. I thought the reversal looked a little strange, and I knew what they were trying, but I don't think it was executed perfectly. That said, I still gave it 2.25 stars. It was a fast match, but I thought from storyline and just the match itself, it was pretty entertaining.
I gave it a 2.5 stars. It was short, pretty quick match, but the match was more or less to further the Guerrero story, which, by the way, am I alone in this to say that actually probably the more interesting storylines right now going on in WCW is the Guerrero family storyline? Like this actually, I think
this is one of the better one. No, I agree. Yeah. I think it is one of the better ones for sure. Yeah, no, it's definitely. I think this one, and honestly, I kind of think Raven has multiple stories going on between his blood feud with DDP, which I guess you could say might be over from Slamboree now that DDP did win their Bowery match. But he's got the Canyon thing on the side. He's got something going on with Saturn. Like I think he's in a lot of interesting stories. But then you look outside of that, and it's like, the NWO Black and White versus Red and Black. There's a overarching story there, but then like the actual like week to week or month to month feuds, it's just a clusterfuck right now. So it just seems like the needle moves so slowly left to right with the Wolfpack in Hollywood, whereas there's really something of real, I guess, substance with a lot of these other storylines where I feel like you could miss a couple of weeks, and obviously people are going to maybe leave and join the NWO. But other than that, I feel like the people that join it and leave at this point are just spokes on the wheel. Like the whole NWO faction split is going to just keep moving the way it is, regardless of what happens for the next couple of weeks. Did you give your match? You said 2.5 stars, right?
2.5, yes.
Yeah. After the match, Eddie's going to dare Chavo to hit him again. He gets on his knees. Chavo instead is going to pick him up. He's going to give him a kiss on the cheek, and then he's going to slap the hell out of him. So it looks like Chavo is finally broken. And again, to your point, Kyle, I'm interested to see where it goes from here. Once
again, we haven't seen a whole lot of Chavo and Eddie, maybe because we've missed Thunder for a bit, but I thought Chavo continues this kind of like reverse psychology, like, oh yeah, you're my favorite wrestler, Eddie, because I know that he's doing that because it annoys Eddie.
Right.
That he's actually like marking for him now and being like, dude, you are the best. Yeah. Because the whole point is that Eddie's doing this to make Chavo break.
Yep.
But now Chavo's like kind of reverse psychologying it. So I'm interested if he was doing this on last Nitro, or if he did it all at Slamboree.
He started at Slamboree. Yeah.
Okay, so there has been a couple occurrences of this, at least.
Yeah, but it's not to. This is probably the furthest it's gone yet. Like even at Slamboree, it was just like he was a little different, snapped a little bit. He actually, after Ultimo Dragon lost that match, Chavo attacks and beats the shit out of Ultimo Dragon to the point like Eddie tried stopping him, like you've lost your mind. So there is a little bit of that going on.
Okay, gotcha.
We're going to move to our main event, Kyle. The Giant, Lex Luger. The question asked always is, can Lex get Giant up for the torture rack?
And Tony also shuts that up and saying we've seen him do it a couple times. So did you also not notice that we have 3 minutes left in the show, and it kind of made you realize what we probably figured?
Yeah, this match had almost no time to it. Lex is going to open up with some quick punches. Then he's going to take a big boot from the Giant. And then the Giant's going to execute a Russian leg sweep? What?
I mean, okay. I don't remember that being in WCW NWO Revenge as one of his movesets, but sure.
Yeah, why not? And then did you notice the Cleveland fan trying to get into the ring during this match and get
this is the match
out of him?
Yeah, this is the match you want to pick. The two probably biggest, strongest men in that we've seen tonight, and you want to get in the ring now. Like I almost kind of want him to get in the ring and watch the Giant just curb stomp him. Yeah,
no shit. Lex is gonna end up getting 3 forearms, which is gonna knock the Giant to his ass. He's gonna call for the torture rack, and out comes Sting. And Lex is going to make quick work of Sting, but the ref's going to call for the bell anyways because it is the main event, so you got to have a disqualification finish. And there's choke slam. I gave this a star and 3/4. I mean, it was another lame ending. Technically, there was an interference, but he never really did anything to Lex. And obviously, we're gonna see that it's kind of a fat Sting, and it's not the real Sting here. But they're trying to pretend like Sting joined the NWO, so that's what they're pushing.
I keep forgetting what the name of the fake Sting is, but I know he makes a good living being the fake Sting for a couple more years. I didn't rate this either. Anyways, I called this a dud as well. I knew that with 2.5 minutes left on the show when the bell rang, I'm like, all right, I like the Russian leg sweep. That was kind of cool. But really, the only thing that Lex Luger did was a jawbreaker and a series of flying forearms. And then once again, the DQ finish at the end. So I really felt like giving it a shitty rating meant that this would be a shitty match. Really, the match was what it was for what the time was allotted to it. Obviously, neither one of them is going to lay down for the other in a 3-minute squash. So, yeah, that's why I call this a dud.
What'd you think about Thunder overall, Kyle? In our hometown of Cleveland, Ohio.
This was weird. I honestly, I didn't write anything down as far as the overall because I kind of wanted to talk more about it to kind of give like the notes for it because clearly there's a lot of story going on. This is the first Thunder after Slamboree. A lot of stuff went down on Nitro. Clearly there was a lot of recap. The matches itself, I mean, I don't think you and I really gave much above a 2-star in these matches.
In general weren't very good overall.
But at the same time, there weren't a lot of – I think when you look at it, there weren't a lot of matches where I looked at it and be like, oh, I'm interested in this. But at the same time, there were 8 matches on this card. There was a lot of actual wrestling on the show. I think
that's because you didn't have any of your – outside of Lex and Giant, those are your big stars. You don't have anybody out here. You don't have Hogan cutting a promo. You don't have Bischoff cutting a promo, Nash. All your big talkers aren't there, so they have to fill it with more matches.
Right. I mean, you had Macho, and you did have a lot of recap. And then you also had the whole Benoit, Stevie Ray, Booker T thing. But once again, 8 matches. The last 2 weeks, I just looked at it. We had the last 3 weeks, we had 5 matches, 6 matches, and then 7 matches. And now we have 8 matches, 2 of which were for titles, with, once again, Fit Finlay and Dean Malenko retaining. But once again, a lot of throwaways. I don't think Chris Jericho Super Colo was going to wow anybody. We already saw Ernest Miller and Yuji Nagata fight before. Saturn versus Van Hammer for the 8th time, and I guess there's a Juventud versus the biggest, like the smallest guy versus the biggest guy in the company. Once again, they're going to repeat this later on with Rey Mysterio and Kevin Nash. I think they do a storyline like towards the end of this year. But yeah, like I said, the storyline progression was above average, I think, for this. But definitely the match quality was not very good. And I guess the only other thing I want to say is it wasn't a football, but those guys almost got pelted with Jell-O, which is almost as memorable, but not nearly as memorable.
It's not Lee Marshall taking a fucking football to the face, but it's still funny. Yeah, I mean, I agree. It was a weird Thunder. It wasn't a great Thunder. I've seen worse. It was just kind of a Thunder. I don't know how else to put it.
This is definitely a purgatory Thunder.
Right, absolutely. But that's our show, and that was a Thunder. Of course, if you haven't subscribed to us yet, follow us. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Google Play. We're in iHeartRadio, all that. Wherever you listen to your podcasts, go find us. Leave us a review. Let us know how we're doing. You can always follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Our boy Hacksaw Jim Duggan, retweeting us as we talked about that Hacksaw pop on our Twitter account. You can always go to thundercraps.com for all of our social media accounts, past episodes, and all that. And go check out that May 28th, 1998 edition of Thunder. We'll do a review, and we'll be right back here next week for the 18th episode of Thunder. For Kyle Hoagland, I'm Josh Kaiser, and we will see you next time on the Thundercraps podcast.
We are desperately out of time. See ya.